And I would preach that, and I would say, you've got a root of bitterness in your heart, and you need to confess it, and you need to forgive those people, and you need to get it out! Get that root of bitterness out! And people would come to the altar, and they'd pray, and they confess their sin. They'd, in their hearts, forgive the person who had wronged them, and they would feel like they'd removed the root of bitterness. I'd counsel people, and they'd tell me terrible things that happened in their past, and we'd go through the principles that are in this passage, and they would do it, and it would work for a while. And then something would happen. A mother would have her daughter turn the same age that that mother had been when an awful event occurred in her life. And all of a sudden, it's like she was reliving it. And it hurt just as bad. It bothered her just as much. And she had feelings just as intense as she had all those years before. An anniversary of an event would occur, and everything would roll back in somebody's mind and be fresh in their spirit again. Somebody would run into someone they hadn't seen for years, and wham! They'd just be slammed with bitterness. And they would say, it didn't work. Now, here's the fourth statement. There's nothing in this passage about removing a root of bitterness. The assumption in the passage is that the root is there, and that periodically it will spring up. Doesn't say remove it. It says it's going to spring up, and if you don't deal with it correctly when it springs up, it will trouble you. Statement number one, everybody's been hurt. Statement number two, these hurts can turn to bitterness. Statement number three, God tells us to respond to these hurts with grace. Statement number four, dealing with these hurts is not a one-time experience, but an exercise which must be repeated every time the hurt springs up. Here's the 3 points of the outline. Don't get excited. We're going to get to point 3 fairly quickly, but it is much longer than points 1 and 2. This is truth in advertising, all right? So don't put your shoes on when I say and number 3. Number 1, the Bible talks about roots. Looking diligently lest any root of bitterness springing up. Now, there's some things about roots that I think you'll agree with that are generally true, that are true in this passage. Number 1, roots are covered. You have beautiful landscaping around here, gorgeous trees. You know, I've heard people compliment the leaves on a tree. I've heard them compliment the blossoms on a tree. I've heard them to compliment the fruit that the tree produces. I've heard them compliment the branches, the trunk, even the bark. But I've never heard anybody go up to a tree and say, wow, look at the roots on that tree. Nobody does it. They're covered. I don't see you tonight. I don't know what's bothering you. I don't know what you've been through, what you're worried about, how you've been hurt. It's covered. You just come and smile and look nice. Second thing about these roots is that they are caustic. The Bible calls them roots of bitterness. I know you folks in the balcony can't see me. Count your many blessings. You just get a little gleam across the way. A root of bitterness. There are some events, there are some circumstances, there are some people, and the mere memory of them can cause you to pucker up like you've been sucking on a lemon there. Caustic sound. But the third thing the Bible teaches us about these roots is that they come up. Lest any root of bitterness springing up. I heard about a young man who worked real hard on one of his early sermons, and he was excited, man. He got all this stuff down, and he was preaching away. And there was a dear saint about 3 rows back on the aisle, and after he preached a little bit, she said, "That's Billy Sunday." He just kind of shrugged it off, thought she was a little strange, but he preached a little further, and she said, "That's D.L. Moody." And this time he sort of stared at her, hoping that would make her feel a little awkward, and she wouldn't interject herself into the sermon any longer, but she didn't pay any attention to it. And a little bit longer, she said, "That's Charles Spurgeon." And he said, "Lady, would you shut up and let me finish this sermon?" And she said, "That's you." They come on. Let me give you a little quiz. I know I didn't tell you ahead of time we're going to have it, so you couldn't study, but I think you'll do all right. Question number 1. If you squeeze an orange really hard, what comes out? Orange is very good. All right, what a scientifically astute crowd we have tonight. Question number 2. Why does orange juice come out of an orange when you squeeze it really hard? Because it's inside. Brilliant. Now, if you squeeze it just right, could you get tomato juice out of it? If you apply the appropriate technique, could you get grapefruit juice out of it? You can't get anything out of it that's not already in it, right? Yeah. But preacher, I'm not usually like that. I was just having a really bad day. Oh, I'm so sorry you saw me that, but that's not me. But I've been under a lot of pressure lately. Oh no, I don't behave like that. That's not me. That just was, you just caught me at a bad moment. No. The reason it came out was because it was already in. What you are under pressure is what you are. The reason that anger comes out, the reason that self-pity comes out, the reason that whining and griping comes out, the reason that all those things that are in us, those things come out under pressure is because they're inside to begin with, and the root springs up. Well, let's look at the second point. The Bible tells us the result of bitterness. This is fascinating to me. Why is it that people hold on to grudges? Why is it that they nurse those things that have happened years ago? Why is it that they keep them fresh in their memories? Why is it that there are people, I got a subscription to a news magazine. Somebody gave it to me. And there was an article in there by Dr. Laura. I'm sorry, I don't like her. She's mean. And she may say some things you agree with, but if I'm driving, I won't listen to the radio. I don't want to listen to Dr. Laura. But Dr. Laura in that article said there are some things that should never be forgiven. She said, a friend of mine said, when we forgive the unforgivable, then we know real peace and real victory. And she said, no, there are some things so terrible, you should never forgive them. Now, the honest truth is, that's the way a lot of people feel. That's so bad, I will never forgive you as long as I live, because it's such a wicked thing. You don't deserve to be forgiven. This ought to be held over your head. This ought to be something that you're called to account for again and again for the rest of your life. That's why we hang on to it. When I was in college, my dad came to me and said that a preacher friend of his, whose son was also in college, I told his dad, who told my dad, that I had said about this young man that I hated his guts and I wanted to smash his face in. Now, the truth is, that young man was not my friend nor my enemy. I did not like him. I did not dislike him. I didn't even care about him. Entire weeks would go by without me even thinking about him. It bothers people to know that they're not that important to us, but it just wasn't there. I said, Dad, I never said that. And my dad said, well, son, you better go make it right. I said, Dad, I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I make it right? That's Bible, isn't it? Oh, that's just the way we live. I'm sorry. Who is responsible to make something right? The person who has caused the offense, whether in reality or in the perception of the other individual, or the person who has been offended. Matthew chapter 5, the Lord Jesus said, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar. Do get that part. It doesn't say don't tithe till you get it right. It says leave your gift at the altar. First, you'll be reconciled to your brother, and then come offer thy gift. The way the Lord says, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee. He's upset with me. I have done something in reality or in his perception that has upset him, that has wronged him. I'm the one who has caused the offense. And the Lord Jesus said, you have caused the offense, go make it right. But then he said in Matthew 18,